So I'm going to continue talking about branding metamorphosis, especially as it relates to the digital branding aspect. And I'm going to touch on the area of branding decomposing. So I want to metaphorically talk about the caterpillar to the butterfly, use that as an analogy, which is something that I use and teach, very often from this particular perspective as it relates to the metamorphosis. So we know that when a caterpillar enters into a cocoon, enters into a chrysalis, it breaks down, it becomes unformed so that it can reemerge into something new. So it's shedding old data about its status and it's coming into a new formation. So this happens with brands and businesses as well when they're going through the metamorphosis. There's a breakdown, there's a decomposing that starts to happen so that old information or old identity about a brand or a business starts to shed away so that the new information can come forth. So how does the new information start to come forth? Well, normally there are new things that are introduced, like maybe a paradigm or a concept that comes in as a new foundation, new fundamentals for a brand to start adopting and start adapting to newer frameworks. So what happens is that the old energy, the old data, the old ways of doing things are pushed out of the way. This new information begins to be the more dominant, progressive, I should say, form that's trying to take place. And so because it hasn't come into an actual form, what's happening is that the brand is having to learn how to be with this new way of beingness. But because it's still in a very unformed, decomposed state, it takes some time to learn how to come into this new formation. Now, it can happen in a very accelerated way if, in fact, the business owner, the brand, is not in resistance to the new change, okay? Unfortunately, most are. And the resistance isn't always about, I don't want to let go of the old and trying to hang on to the old. What happens is it's just because it's not accustomed to this new way of beingness, which sometimes plays out very differently than when you are introduced to new things. Because a lot of the things that are coming in terms of the marketplace are innovations and concepts that haven't been leveraged before, because everyone's been so used to leveraging the older concepts and then kind of just evolving those frameworks. But in this type of metamorphosis, it takes on a completely different format and functionality. Now, I'm not saying that some of the older or even current frameworks don't have a place, but they do come in at a more evolved expression. So it's not new and improved. It will be something different in the way that they're playing out, even if it seems like there's some similarities, there. So as a brand is in that decomposing state and that unformed state, coming into that new expression, the brand or business owner, solo entrepreneur, so has to sync up and be very progressive with creating the momentum towards the new, which means they have to be focusing fully on the new that's emerging, even if they don't fully understand what's going on. They can't continue to look to the old, because if they look to the old or even try to stay doing what they're doing currently, they're not going to come into the new formation, right? So the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of you may be wondering, well, am I in that state, or I feel like I'm in that state and I feel stuck. And so you have to ask yourself, where are you flowing your energy to? Where are you flowing your energy? Are you trying to hang on to the what is? Are you getting stuck in lack of clarity, not knowing how to move forward? Let me encourage you right now. You don't have to fully know everything. But what you do have to be aware of is that you're coming into a new formation that's going to have new functionalities. And so even with the lack of awareness around that, you still have to put your attention there to the moving forward and ask yourself empowering questions. What is the new that I am to do during this time? What is ready to be brought into a new formation? What is the new information that I should be embracing and embodying? What are the new adaptations, right? So what's unfortunate sometimes is that when you look out, you're actually not going to find the new that you actually need to sync up with. But because if you're listening to this, I've created that vibration where you can sync up with it, even just by asking those questions. And if you're paying attention to my branding, it will give you a great indication of what the newer dynamics are, the new now dynamics for a new business normal. Okay? So, with that being said, when you start seeing that there's pioneer energy that's available to you of demonstrating things that no one else has ever demonstrated before, then it lets you know that you have a pioneer energy within you that's trying to emerge. And sometimes you're not going to have a pilot or a prototype, so to speak, for what is coming up for you. I know this because that's how my branding evolved. I did not have a prototype that I could look out at anything of anybody who was doing or demonstrating what I was doing. And so I didn't have anybody to model in that way. But I knew that there was a new way that was emerging, and that everything that was being offered was not something that was going to resonate with my expression that I need to bring forth. And so a lot of you are there. So as you are forming, as you are morphing, into this newer expression, sometimes it's not going to be someone who's doing what you've seen that you want to do or they're just giving you a template of something that has just been rinsed and repeated, rehearsed all over. But you don't find that your success is there. So what you need to do during this time, as I mentioned, starting to flow your energy towards the new. All right? So I do have some trainings below that you can avail yourself to. They're in bundle formats, myself and other experts, that as you start syncing up with the newness that's emerging, especially as it relates to the digital branding aspect, you're going to find your way to navigate in this new business normal, and start this metamorphosis process with new information that's going to be unique for you. And when I say unique for you, meaning when you hear it and you start doing some of the exercises that are offered, a call to action, so to speak, it's going to click into your, what I call divine encoding. And once that starts to happen, you'll be able to customize a new way for yourself to move yourself forward through this metamorphosis process. So I have several other trainings and masterminds as well that can help, with this process. But I think it's best that you start with some of the bundles that can help you to start metamorphosizing, evolutionizing, and then we can get to some grander things that we can do, and then we can ultimately optimize your brand in the digital space. So you don't want to stay caught in that unformed state for long, okay? Where you could potentially go into resistance or go into the decomposing and never come into a form. That's the death of brands and businesses. And a lot of that's going to be taking place on a grander scale. You don't want that to be you. So, as I mentioned, there's information below where it's some basics that you can start with of just learning how to do new things a different way so that you can ultimately be successful through navigating your business and branding cocoon process so that you can emerge to be exactly what you need to be, a different, unique expression. You're not going to come out being a bigger caterpillar. You're going to come out ready to successfully soar in your butterfly and beyond expression and effect that you're here to demonstrate in the marketplace. So, again, you can navigate this digital decomposing aspect of the metamorphosis process and emerge to something new, because you're here to be something new and different, not something new and improved, not something that's just grown bigger and more expansive. You're here to be something different. So I look forward to bringing you more on this topic, but I know that you'll make it through this process, and I'm here to champion you in that way.